Houston, we have a problem.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host, Vikka Draziv. Guys, welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, do comment, like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't, and do invite your friends and who you think would be interested in our podcast and in the information we try to share here. So please do that. It really helps us grow the community or share the show. And if you're watching us from realtruthseekers.com, rts.video, yes, a huge community there for us. And a big shout out to realtruthseekers.com. It's one of our main sponsors for Heliopsychosis podcast and our coming productions. So make sure you guys check out rts.video. And yes, what an awesome topic we have today. I think even 3 episodes wouldn't be enough about the cosmology we are going to be discussing today. It's in so much detail that our brains cannot grasp it. Exactly. So let's jump in with our host and our panelist, my co-host Gene. Gene, how are you, Gene?
Hey, Vikka. Yeah, you said it, bro. This is going to be one for 3 topics or three shows or more. It's so vast. Definitely a great one. Happy to be here, and thanks for throwing the party here tonight, brother. So hi everybody, and good to have you here. Welcome. This is we're going to be talking about the Vedic cosmology tonight, and we've been through a bunch of them. And cosmology is just the study of the origin, the purpose, the structure, and the function of the universe is really what boils down to. And Vedic cosmology happens to be one of the oldest and intricate and detailed and so interesting. I don't know what we're going to cover tonight, bro, but I'm sure you got a lot of great stuff in store, and I'm really psyched to be here, guys. So, sometimes it's good to go backward to go forward too, right? If you understand your past better, you'll understand how to move forward. And I'm getting a lot out of these shows, bro. So, welcome, guys. And due to the intense nature of this podcast, mental seatbelts are advised.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. So, yes, and our next panelist is Keith. Keith, how are you?
Hey, Vika, doing good. Gene, Evelyn, good to be with you again. This should be a good show. I grew up American. I grew up in a Christian home. I never studied much about the Vedas or Hindu religion at all. But the last 10 years of my life, I've kind of made it a point to practice looking at things from other people's perspectives. And that allows you, or allows me anyway, to feel like I have a better picture or a clearer picture of the bigger picture. And as we've talked about before, Vika, all the similarities on all these different ancient cosmologies, regardless of culture. But and there's some contradictions. There's even contradictions within the Hindu cosmology itself. But just to make it almost, if you could make it a habit to practice looking at things from other people's perspectives, I just think it makes you a little more well-rounded individual, where you take things with a grain of salt. You don't get so offended if somebody doesn't believe like you, or if they think what you believe is stupid or dumb. You just let them go their way. So that's all I would ask anyone that's listening tonight to do, is just practice looking at the Earth from the Hindu cosmology, as well as all the others we've talked about, and just try to understand who these people were, what they were thinking. And the other big part of all of these cosmologies we talked about is the allegory, or the mythology, or the symbolism that's in it, that might be internalized to our own bodies, whether it's the 33 vertebrae in our spine, or the crown of our head, or whatever the chakras are, which chakra means wheels, the wheels that are inside of us, on how all of these cosmologies of the outer world might relate to the inside of our human bodies. That's a fascinating subject for me, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. So good to be here.
Oh yeah, well said, brother. Wheels, it's all wheels of time, right? Everything's a wheel. Yeah, and that's for sure that, as you said, contradictions are in many cosmologies, and these contradictions are purposely made to contaminate the original text. So this is what they've done. And even with the Vedic cosmology, you have scholars who deny the real facts, the same, and put it in out of context. The same could be seen in Bible or any other cosmologies, be it Islamic or uh, any other you could count. There are always scholars, the new age, who wants money, who wants deception, disinformation for the controllers, and they are there acting as if they are the professors and the teachers who are telling the truth. So there are many religious leaders who are freaking telling lies in the face of the people. They tell you the truth about some things, but the real things, they keep you hidden. They are gatekeepers too. So definitely, brother, welcome. And our final panelist is Evelyn. How are you, Evelyn? Had a rough day today, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm doing good. Nice to be here, and can't wait to get started. So let's start.
Oh yeah, welcome. So before we jump into the cosmology of the Vedics, I wanted to mention a few things about India, so we have an idea, where we are going with it. Like, India is supposed to be the cradle of civilization. Okay, there are not only the language, the culture, the technology, the art, the philosophy, anything you could speak about, astronomy, health, everything. Okay, there's so much stuff coming out from that part of the world. Okay, we won't get into it regarding the technology and all that stuff. It's so intense. The few things I could just mention is the zero was the invention of India, so without zero, we cannot do mathematics. All right. And most of the languages are based on Sanskrit and Arabic, which all come from there, right? So apart from the Sumerians and the other languages, a mix, but just to mention a few, that a lot comes from there. So the cosmology is also no different, because the information that is given in this cosmology, even if we would try to define it and explain it to people, we cannot grasp it. Our mind cannot have the power to even imagine what it's saying about our world. Imagine, not even our mind is capable of imagining, don't have the capacity. It's in so much detail about the whole universe, the whole Vedic cosmic universe, right? So, before other thing I wanted to mention that we are not trying to push any religion or any belief on anybody. As we said, we do all these cosmologies for research purpose only as it relates to flat earth. So we look into it from different aspects to try to decode what it's trying to say about its world. So the Vedic cosmology is one of the primary topics addressed in ancient Sanskrit histories known as Puranas. And this includes like the universal creation by the superconscious Vishnu and subsequent creation by the superhuman being, chiefly Brahma. Okay, Brahma is supposed to be a creator god, like, you know, here as it's mentioning that he was a superhuman being. We could call him a demigod, you know. So Brahma is supposed to be the creator. Brahma, Abraham, Ram is a god, another god from India, right? Ram, Ibrahim, Bra, it's already there, right? So Brahma, a creator god. Then we have Vishnu. Vishnu is supposed to be the operator. And then you have Shiva, who is supposed to be the destroyer. You have the creator, operator, and destroyer. And Vishnu is supposed to be the operator. Vishnu is an anagram for Shiva. Okay, Shiv, Vish. Okay, it's the same. Shiv, Vish. So what happened? These three gods, these three creator gods or demigods are the avatar of the supreme god Krishna. Okay, so you have that Krish, Ish also there in the anagram because they are the same. They are the avatar of the supreme god. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So the Vedic universe like taking the plane of the ecliptic and extending it to the edge of the realms. The Puranas describe our earth as it sits within the universe in the middle of 14 subplanes. 14 planes, okay, with 6 higher realms and 7 below realms. Like also in the famous TV series Cosmos, Mr. Astronomer Carl Sagan admits that the Vedas of India are the only ancient text in which the time scales corresponds to those of modern scientific cosmology. Like in reality, they try to fit their pseudoscience based on the real science of the Vedics, you know, so that in the future, like now, when people try to understand, so there is something that could make sense for them to grab to, like, yeah, you see the distances or whatever, you know. So it doesn't sound totally fairy tale, which we know it is. Like the pseudoscience is a real fairy tale, right? So there's loads of stuff which is all these scientists have taken from the Vedas to make it look like, yeah, there's some truth in their fake science, what they're doing right now, right?
Yeah, when you talk about the planes in the Vedic cosmology, you know, the different planes above us and the planes beneath us, or the level areas, it's funny that even the entire heliocentric hypothesis, which I like to call it the heliocentric nonsense hypothesis, they have all of the other planes along with the Earth, or all the other planets, which we call wandering stars. They have those on a level plane. So there's some truth in plain sight, even in the heliocentric nonsense, that everything travels and spins at dizzying, incredible, impossible speeds, chasing each other around the sun, but they all have them on the same level plane. It's hilarious. They honestly cannot see the truth that's right in front of them.
You're right, Keith. The solar system ends up being pretty flat when you look at it a certain way, and so does the whole galaxy is pretty flat. They're funny.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and as what Keith was saying about the stars being a plane, so in Vedic cosmology, everything, these levels are planes, right? So we could imagine them as layers, because Earth is a layer, right? The sea is a layer on top of the Earth. The air is another layer on top of the Earth. So we have all those layers by layers, okay? So one of the sun, after the atmosphere, is supposed to be the layer of the sun. And then after that layer is supposed to be the layer of the moon and Mars and go and the same way. And between all these layers, after few planets or luminaries, there's a layer of stars. That's why when we see the high altitude balloons, we don't see stars. Why? Because it's in a higher layer, as a plane, as a disk. Okay, so the above luminaries, the same thing. They all have their own layer till it reaches the North Pole, the Polaris. The Polaris. This is supposed to be the seat of the God, the seat of Brahma, the house of Brahma, the house of Yahweh, you want to call it, the house of Jesus, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. So the other thing, in this different levels of plane or layers, so the sun is supposed to be the lowest layer, and the moon is supposed to be the second, the Mars the third. So this concept of the days of the week are the heights of the luminaries comes from the Vedic cosmology, which I have already a video 4 years before. So there were some people who were saying, hey, this comes from wherever. No, it comes from the Vedic cosmology, and I have a video on it, okay, explaining these days and the heights of the luminaries. And the layer of the stars is called nakshatra. Nakshatra is stars. It's crazy because if we really see the sun, we see it closer than the moon in a way, because once you go above in a high altitude balloon, you're going to see that the sun is very close, but the moon looks much more higher. Always. You're never going to see the sun the same size as the moon once you're above in the high altitude balloon. The reason, because it's higher than the sun, as in the Vedic cosmology.
Yeah, I think that's what we see when we look at the eclipse of the sun. For a solar eclipse, you never, ever, ever see the moon approaching or during or after a solar eclipse. And I think it's because the sun is closer to us. The moon, if it is the moon causing the eclipse, then it's passing behind the sun, possibly blocking out the actual source of light that creates our apparent sun or our visual sun that we see in the sky. So I think the eclipses that we observe, speak to what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, and in some of our podcasts, we also spoke about the eclipses and how like the Mount Meru is the real reason for the eclipses, right? So that was quite interesting. Maybe Gene remembers that.
That was good. That was last summer.
And one of the similarities too that you were talking about a minute ago, Vika, of the god sitting at the center over above Polaris. That's also a Christian perspective out of the Bible. And these globe loving, globe zealots that are in the Christian religion, want to say, well, they bring up a scripture. It says, well, God sits on the circle of the earth. Like, there it is. See, there's a circle of the earth. I said, well, it's a circle, not a sphere. I mean, a pizza is a circle too, but it's flat. And it says that the heavens is God's throne and the earth is his footstool. So there's another similarity in the Christian religion to the Vedic cosmology of their God, whether it be Allah or Krishna or Brahma or Jehovah or Yahweh, like you said. There's all these similarities of God sitting above the North Pole or at the center of over this one plane on another plane that's above us.
Exactly, because it's one root information or truth that has been shared in different ways, saying the same thing, but looking at from different angles, right? Even if we start the Krishna, the eternal, the supreme God of Hinduism, Krishna, the word says it. I did mention in some of our podcasts too. Krishna, Christ, Krishna, Christianity, right? Christianity. Yeah. Go ahead.
It does make sense that cultures would get involved with the story and change things, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's the same information. It's Krishna, the word Christ, right? So it's not different because it's the same thing. It's Ish is there, the Ishwar, Isa. In Islamic, it's Jesus, right? Isa, so it's the same thing. So Abraham, Brahma. Yeah, and Brahma and Saraswati, Abraham and Sarah, right? There are connections there, So I don't see a difference. It's just a variation of the same thing. The other thing I wanted to mention also, Christianity, as I mentioned, niti means the way of. So Christianity, according to that, is supposed to be the ways of Krishna or Christ. The teachings of the Christ, or the way of the Christ, or the way of the Krishna, or the teachings of the Krishna. Right? What is the real meaning of Christian? Christian means Christ in. Okay? Look for the Christ in. Don't make it what it's not, because you cannot describe the undescribable. Don't try to, right? So Brahma is the first created being within the universe. Like he's supposed to be the head of the cosmos, and he possesses a body composed of information. Brahma is given a blueprint for creation by Vishnu, the operator. And based on this information, he proceeds to create the universe or the realm. In accordance with the nature's law, due to time dilation, Brahma had an experience of time that vastly differs from that of people on earth. The lifespan of Brahma is mere 100 years, and yet these 100 years last 333 trillion years of human race. So each day of Brahma is 4.32 billion of our human years. Does that sound very familiar, that number 4 billion, 4.32 billion? Where does it sound from?
Isn't that the age of the Earth?
It's the evolution theory.
Yeah. Right?
And and the Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
The Big Bang, yes.
Allegedly.
Expansion of the universe.
So you see how they take how they rob it and put it in their way, you know? So what is this 4.32 billion years according for them is the Big Bang, but according to Hindu cosmology, the real information, the real truth about this number is the edge, is the end of the Earth. 4.2 billion. That's still where it ends, the Earth ends. And they put it, the Earth began, right? You see, how they play it and how they flick it, right? Instead of saying that's where the Earth ends, it says that's when the Earth or the universe started, 4 billion. So that 4.32 billion of our human years or equivalent to of 1000 kalpas is just another unit of time, also known as yuga cycles. Yuga, you have the Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga, like Golden Age, Bronze Age, the Dark Age. Again, we're speaking about cycles, right? So also it speaks about the Vaikuntha, the spiritual sky. The Vedic cosmology describes that beyond this mundane universe is the spiritual universe of Vaikuntha. There we find similar hierarchy of luminaries and varieties of living beings. But the difference is that everyone accepts the preeminence of Vishnu and happily serves him. The endless cycles of the creation and destruction of the material cosmos, the Vaikuntha luminaries are eternal. The inhabitants there never experience birth, disease, or old age or death. Sounds also very familiar, right? With other cosmologies. This is the chief distinction between matter and spirit. Matter is temporarily manifested only to be destroyed, but the spirit is eternal. The creation of the cosmic universe and its eventual annihilation mirrors the creation and destruction of the individual body inhabited by the spirit soul. Yeah, you see, there are privileged ones, you know. There are beings which are not in matter state, you know. They are light bodies. Because Shiva, the god of destruction, you could call it, the god of death, if you could call it, because he's the one who completes the cycle. Shiva, his partner is called Parvati. Okay, so Shiva, we could call it as the eternal consciousness in a way. And Parvati is supposed to be the matter, right? Material. Matter is mother. Okay, so we could call it energy in a way, like, you know, we need consciousness and energy. It's both interdependent, right? We cannot just have consciousness without energy and only energy without consciousness. It's not working. So the Shiva and Parvati represents that. So what happens when Parvati create this matter, we can call mother, matter, X. It also is the same meaning of matrix. Okay. So the idea is not about escaping the matrix. It's about understanding the matrix, because once you understand, you don't need to escape it, because you understand the importance of it and what it is. It's just a manifestation of matter.
And if you don't mind, I'll interject a little bit here about the matter that we see with the architecture in India. It's the same architecture we see everywhere. I mean, it's like, wow, those Greco-Romans ended up in India building the same big Capitol buildings with the huge domes and columns. I mean, people talk about India and they want to talk about the Taj Mahal, but go look at the Secretariat building that's in India. And go compare that to the Capitol building that's in Budapest. I mean, the same buildings are everywhere. And, when we start talking about, Shiva and the god of destruction in the Hindu religion, there's lots of stories and lots of cosmologies about the world being destroyed. And it seems to me, I tend to agree with the Native American teaching that there's probably been 4 or 5 resets where things has been destroyed and restarted. And we seem to have, physical architectural evidence of that everywhere across the earth. But these cosmologies that we're getting, I really personally, I question the age of all of them, because they're all so similar. Maybe they're not as old as they say they are. I don't really know. But I think it's good to keep digging and keep asking questions about each one of these, and maybe get another piece of the puzzle of the overall picture of how things were started, and where we are now and where we're headed.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because the even the Tartaria is supposed to be one of the last resets, and there definitely had to be many more. And in the Vedic cosmology, it speaks about extinctions in a way, right? The same thing. It's the same thing in a way, reset, because someone is doing that.
Well, they definitely had some buildings that looked like they were free energy buildings. What we would call free energy, right? With the tiers, right? The tiers tapered up to the top, and the points, copper on the top.
Exactly, because as how Keith was mentioning about those structures very similar to the Capitol building. Yes, there are constructions in all over India which are very similar, but the real Vedic stuff, constructions are also there, which have nothing to do with any other construction all around the world, because all around the world they are very similar with the domes type and all those pillars and Greek styles and the mix, of arcs and everything. But the real Vedic constructions are mind blowing. They are crazy. There are wells. There are like almost temples carved out in rocks in mountains, and wells, and with geometry, it's going crazy. So there are some stuff that doesn't have very similarity to the Tartarian stuff, but we can see the technology. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yeah, I think the structures you're talking about, Vikka, are probably from a previous reset. I think those structures are even older. I mean, some of the temples there and some of the sun temples that are in India are unbelievable, and they're nothing like the domed Capitol buildings that we see everywhere. They're more, just to that area of the earth, and the carving. I think there's one of them that has like pillars in it that ring at different tones.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yes,
yeah, I have seen that.
it's amazing.
Wow, if you see, you have chariots, you have temples made of stones. It's crazy. It's mind blowing. How there are some temples like the Meenakshi temple with the sun uh, equinox in the middle. You see the details in these temples. They are mind blowing. There are ruins all over India. People know about Taj Mahal and few other, Ajanta caves, and few other famous ones. There are ruins of caves and statues that are not even taken care of. There are so many. You could just even go in the nature, in the mountains. You're going to find a whole cave system with temples, thousands of years old, Buddhas, stupas, waterfalls, water system. There are there are how do you say footprints of all this ancient civilization and how advanced they were with the laying of their cities and their water systems. It's crazy. It's crazy. You visit those places and if you feel like you are in other time period, like it's crazy stuff. And exactly, and the most important part is that most of these temples, not only being in India, it could be Thailand, Vietnam, and all the Buddhist countries, they all have the stupas and the temples, and these are the real representation of the Mount Meru. We know the importance of the North Pole and Mount Meru in all the cultures. Their designs is based on Mount Meru with the four direction, with the doors, the east and the west, the pillar in the middle, the steps. Everything represents. That's why you have this kind of similarity in many places of these kind of constructions too.
Yeah, that's one of the things I bring up to people all the time is that the ancient people built amazing structures. And when we talk about the sun temples in India, that aligned, they knew they had an absolute understanding that the earth was stationary and the sun and the moon move over us. And so many of those buildings are built in perfect alignment to the equinoxes and the solstices. As far as I know, all the sundials in those temples are still keeping perfect time with the sun today because these ancient people that we're taught are not so smart that we've evolved and we're smarter than them now. I said no, I don't think so. I think the people back then, they knew a lot that we don't know now. We have been so dumbed down in our society. But when you look at the temples over there, it's obviously an advanced civilization. Someone's bigger or better or smarter than us built those that are still working with the alignment of the sun and the moon and the stars today.
Exactly, and India was the IKEA of temples. They used to design temples and send it to be assembled in different countries, and they still do that. They used to do thousands of years before, and they still do that. Okay, why do you think the British went to India to colonize? Because they had the biggest navy, the navy, the navigation system. Nav, the word nav comes from Sanskrit meaning ship. Nav, the word naval, navy, navigation, trigonometry. Yeah, it's all comes from the Vedics, right? I could just go on forever in these details about navigations and how this art was spread later. Coolio. So we jump in the real shape, right? Listen to me carefully. The universe is a sphere. The universe is a sphere encased by a successive covering of the elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Intelligence and ego, as a coconut has its harder outer shell and inner liquid. We're speaking about a harder shell and an inner liquid inside. So the universe has its outer covering and an inner space half filled with ocean water. So we're speaking about a ball with a hard shell with water inside half the way. On that ocean, yeah, go ahead.
It sounds like the cosmic egg theory that we've heard from other cosmologies as well. That cosmic egg seems to come up again and again.
Oh, yeah. So the universe has its outer covering and an inner space half filled with ocean water. And on that ocean, another vision of expansion reclined on a serpent bed. All right, so we could imagine that ball with water inside, and that if it's water inside, it have to be level, right? And then there are lands, islands, okay? And the air, as I mentioned earlier, the air, water, land, all the gases and everything are all layers. So we could imagine when these people, they show us the globe earth with the inner core, right? With the magma inside and that huge fake ball inside the earth, So imagine the same thing, but a ball with a flat plane inside and all the elements making the layer.
Vika, sunsets can be a nice way to point out the visual effects of the different layers. The gases being lit up by the electric sun as it's leaving, and even sunrises, right?
Did we lose Vika? Oh no, he's still there.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
That's okay.
So on that ocean, lies reclined on a serpent bed while being massaged by his partner Lakshmi. From his navel rose a lotus on which Brahma was born. Keith, Gene, could you mute your mic, please, brother? So from his navel rose a lotus on which Brahma was born. Initially, the universe was pitch dark and Brahma engaged in meditation. Then he was empowered to create the universe. This account of the universe may appear fantastic to some, but the modern scientific theories also require fantastic leap of faith, right? To explain the origin of the Vedic cosmology. So the universe is made up of 14 vertical arranged planetary, or how you want to call it, luminary systems, or loka. Each system resembles a galaxy, as how Gene was mentioning, a flat galaxy. So it's a flat, right? So each resembles a galaxy and comprises of stars, luminaries, and other celestial bodies. The topmost planetary system is called Satya Loka, the abode or the house of Brahma, which is at the height of 1.87 billion miles above the earth. The best part about the Vedic cosmology is that they have only the X and Y axis, the horizontal and the up. That's it. There is no other directions. of the physical universe. And it also mentions that it's not only what we perceive with the eyes that the world is, right? Because only with the five senses we cannot perceive the world, how the real world is. Some aspects maybe, and this is really well known in the Vedic cosmology about this. Like, you cannot perceive the whole world how it is, as I was mentioning in some of our podcasts. Like, being in different dimensions, the higher dimension you are, the lower you can see. The lower you are, the higher you cannot see. It's like a bird eye view. After the Satyaloka, there is Tapaloka planetary system, the abode of the ascetic, which is the height of nearly 1 billion miles above the earth. Because here, the concept of miles is in billions and trillions, is because it's out of our concept to understand the time, in the concept how it's explained in the Vedic. Because as we mentioned, the age of Brahma, in trillions of years, or 4 billion years, we cannot even imagine, we cannot even comprehend. So for us, this might be infinite of distance. Maybe, but for some of these deities, it's nothing, right? Very similar to what these people say about UFOs and traveling at light speed. They can reach end of the universe. Because they are aliens, right?
But like, they don't have time and distance the way we do. They can. They I guess they work more with nature to be able to do stuff like that and be in different dimensions. It's a higher level of working with nature.
Oh yeah. Or being the light, right? Being the light, you are instant. It's on the will.
Right.
So, in the Tapaloka, there the souls live in solitary, serene environment, conducive for yoga and meditation, or transcendence their disciplined life of joyous austerity, prepares them for returning back to the non-material world. Then as we move down to the next, from Tapaloka, we pass through Mahaloka and Janaloka until we reach the Swargaloka. Swargaloka sounds very familiar to the Slavic god Swarwog. Remember the last time? Swarwog is Swarga. It means heaven. The Swargaloka planetary system, also known as the heaven, the center of the dome, a chandelier which shows all the luminaries according to the Vedic Puranic version. This luminary system is rotating from east to west. It is hanging like a chandelier, taking shelter of the pole star that we can see every night. That the pole star or the North Star remains fixed and does not orbit in the sky. It's literally saying that in the Vedic cosmology. So the North Star being fixed in the sky is also very well known to all the astronomers and many other cosmologies, and to the sailors, right?
Yeah, that's another argument I hear about all these people that have been sailing for thousands of years, and they all did it allegedly with the understanding that the Earth is a sphere. And these are the people who just can't think independently. They can't think outside of their indoctrination. I said, no, everybody thousands of years ago, they navigated by the stars, with Polaris not moving and everything else moving. They knew this, and they did it based on a flat, level plane, knowing that water is level. When you use a sextant, it has to have 3 flat sides, including the oceans. But you have these people who can't even consider the truth that's right before them because they've been so brainwashed and indoctrinated. So here we have another ancient cosmology telling us that Polaris doesn't move, and all the navigation of all the ships thousands of years ago worked perfectly with the stars, with the understanding that the waters are level.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and also the astrolabe more or less represents that, because there are inscriptions on the astrolabe which are in Sanskrit. But that's for another topic for another day. But another interesting thing about pole star here, what it mentions is quite curious, is that less known is the fact that the pole star rotates powerfully on its own axis. The ancient Vedic text called Matsya Puranas explains the planets or the luminaries and the stars are all attached to a pole star by an invisible astral cord of wind called Pravaha. So imagine the North Pole attached to all the luminaries through an astral invisible string, and they all are spinning, and that pole star is moving like a wheel. Freaking interesting, right?
It makes a lot more sense than the Big Bang Theory, though. Especially since they're in their same pattern. There's no parallax ever. And they knew that. They knew to build buildings in certain places that would represent that forever.
Oh yeah, it's yeah.
They were expressing how important it was and how important it should always be, possibly.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting concept, because we all are, the pole star is fixed, it's not moving. It's not moving from its place, but it's rotating. And when we see those star trails or those, how do we call them? The time lapse from the stars. Right. You see, it looks like it's rotating around the North Pole, the North Star, and makes sense that if it's moving in sync,
right,
it's because it's all attached in a way.
Right, like if it was a blanket of some kind. Who knows how thick or whatever, but they're all moving at the same speed, at the same motion, and the North Star might move around, but everything else moves around with it.
Yeah, it's not speaking about moving around. It's speaking about spinning.
Right, right.
It's 2 different things.
No, I'm just saying that it does move seasonally, but everything still spins around it.
It's like the hub and a wheel.
Which you
exactly. That's the point. It's a hub and a wheel.
You have the same star pattern twice in a row on a heliocentric model if everything was moving at these speeds. So there's that too. Not let alone for thousands of years, and line monumental buildings up to those stars and have them line up. So how many centuries later? You couldn't do that if everything was moving the way the heliocentric model explains it.
Oh, yeah. So the revolution of the pole star causes the orbital motion of the luminaries and the stars. Through meditation, yogic astronomers visualize the luminaries and the stars at different parts of the body. Shishumara, the transcendental dolphin. Pole star, yeah. The pole star, the topmost of the heavenly luminaries, is like the capital of the middle universe. Here, the third form of Vishnu resides on an ocean of milk. In the times of the universal disturbances, the demigods, headed by Brahma, came here to appeal for help. The pole star is also the house of Dhruva, pure and exalted devotee of the Lord. The Vedic geocentric model explains how the sun moves around the pole star. Cannot be more clear and simple than that. The Vedic geocentric model explains how the sun moves around the pole star, situated vertically above the Earth's north pole.
Vertically.
So does that mean gravity doesn't exist?
In other words, yeah. That's what it means.
Oh, that's just another one. You talk to these people and you tell them that the sun and the moon are the same size and altitude and they're moving over us. It's like, the gravity theories, all of them, they're out. I mean, they're the mass of the sun that the gravity theories depend on is just not there. The sun and the moon don't have mass like the pseudoscience wants to tell us. And here we have, another cosmology telling us that the sun and the moon somehow connected with some kind of I don't know, mythological wind to the Polaris, to the North Pole star. I mean, it to you and me and Evelyn and Jean, it all makes perfect sense because we've been studying it for a while. But when you start talking like this to people who are completely indoctrinated and haven't heard about it, I mean, they think we're taking mushrooms or smoking meth or something else. But it makes perfect sense. So for those of you who might be listening to the first time, just consider this perspective and start looking into it and seeing what we're telling you is a very real possibility on how this earth or this earth system that we live in or live on is this is how it works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Keith. We got to consider, everybody, that the modern theory is roughly 500 years old, and it's loaded with 666s by accident. Loaded with them.
Yeah, just lots of coincidences with those 666s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they use a lot of frequency numbers too. 432. It's a frequency.
Well, they changed it.
Exactly. So even in their spacecraft, they use a lot of these numbers of frequencies.
Right. Yeah, they have to put it in our face so we look at it and ignore it.
Exactly, and don't understand it and demonize it and
right, make fun of it and laugh at the truth, ignore it.
Exactly, because this is the thing, 360, right?
Full circle.
Exactly, it's a frequency, right? 720, as they say, 720p, 1080p, right?
Right.
It's frequencies. 144,000 hertz is a frequency for the sound, right? For some of the sound. The 144,000 gods, which is supposed to be in the Vedic cosmology, 144,000 fallen angels, according to the Bible, right?
12
It's the frequency, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the cults here in America, they talk about only 144,000 people are going to get into heaven.
Oh yeah, very curious, right?
Yeah.
So the sun goes around the Earth disk. We experience day and night. The stationary Earth, unlike the polar star, does not revolve on its own axis. It's just saying it very clearly. During the summer in the northern hemisphere, the northern part, the North Pole experiences 6 months of daylight, and the same. This one we all know about that, right? The circle, the Capricorn and the Cancer.
Yeah, the tropics.
The
Yeah.
travel patterns of the sun.
Exactly. So all these geometric patterns that we comes from, also it's from the Vedics too, about the sun and the moon and making those flower of life. It comes from the Vedic. So Vedic cosmology accounts for the phenomena of this phenomena of the tropics by a vertical motion of the sun, technically called Uttarnaya and Dakshinaya. Uttar means north and Dakshin means south. The sun moves upward in an incline for half year and then downward for the next half year. Then a lemma. It's really saying it. And this motion produces two effects on the earth, namely the changing of the seasons and the varying durations of the day and night. Ordinary vision sees the sun to be a ball of fire. However, the celestial vision reveals a personality residing over the sun. His name is Vivasman, and he rides a golden chariot pulled by 7 divine horses at a speed of 16,000 miles per second. The chariot has one wheel which moves on a celestial Manasotra mountain. The horizontal shaft is like an actual hub of the universe. Mount Meru and the diagonal shaft is linked to the pole star. With each circular path, the wheel gradually moves laterally inward for 6 months and then outward for 6 months. It's like some kind of again a technology. It's speaking about, it's attached to it and it's moving up and down 6 months and 6 months, and it's like, it cannot just free itself. It's like the wheels of this chariot, it's like moves on some kind of a rail.
Yeah, and related to this, I've seen flat Earth models where they have the sun, when it's closest up over the Tropic of Cancer, that it's allegedly higher in the sky, and when it's out further by the Tropic of Capricorn, it's lower in the sky. And I think that's just perspective. I think the sun maintains the same altitude all the time, but it appears lower in the sky when it's over the Tropic of Capricorn, like at the bottom of the analemma, just because of our visual perspective. But I think they maintain that same altitude on the level plane.
Yeah, but here it's speaking in a way of two axes. Here they are trying to explain in a way, because how do you say, you have the planes below and you have the surface, and then you have the vertical, because up the distances are in two ways. You have the horizontal distances and you have the vertical distances,
Yeah,
right? And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking that the vertical distance, just they may be using the word vertical, but it may be more that it's when they say going up means going closer to the center of polarity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Going down, it's going out towards the edge, but it's
exactly.
It's not vertical altitude up and down. It's vertical closer to the center than out downwards.
Exactly, like a more kind of a bit of pyramidal motion, but not very going literally straight vertical, right? It's more of a triangle. That's what it's trying to explain here with the North Pole, and the chariot is all the sun that is carried on a chariot is attached to these springs, and the wheels is making the sun go on a plane a little bit of vertical to horizontal movement, which creates that effect. And it show, like, in a way, that's how it's creating those day and night and all what it mentioned, the seasons and everything, the analema, right? That's why we perceive the sun very, very, very near, right? Also is one of the reasons. And it also mentions the sun, because when we see a flat earth model with the sun, they show us all is night, and then just a little part is the sun, is the day, right? With the sun on a flat earth. But during the day, because of that movement of that sun, that shadow becomes a straight line, and then curves out, and then curves in, like concave, convex, and straight. Are you guys getting what I'm trying to say?
Are you saying it's kind of like the yin and the yang symbol, where some of the daylight trails the sun for a way, almost like a tail, but where the sun is rising, it's more rounded, and it's more, the light is more longer behind the sun for the sunset.
Yeah. Imagine a flat earth model, a flat earth plane with a moon, with a sun, and the sun is moving from the tropics. So because of that movement of the movement of itself and the ecliptic, right? That because of that ecliptic, the shadow that falls on half of the earth can grow and be different, or less or more. So you have seen animation of flat earth where they show us the little sun with little bit day and the rest is night. But in reality, it could happen like that. Then it could be half of the earth is in the day and half is in the night. And then you have the 3/4 is in day and 3/4, the remaining is in the night. Then you have the majority is in the day and the less is in the night. So the whole shadow changes. First it's like a half pizza. Then the same line turns into a concave, and the same line turns into a convex. It's very difficult to explain, but that's how.
I think a simple way to think of it may be that when the sun is traveling over the Tropic of Cancer at its northernmost point, that's probably when almost 3/4 of the earth is lit up.
Exactly, concave, maybe a concave shadow.
When it's at the equator, it's equal, it's half and half. And then when it's
exactly
Capricorn, it only lights up maybe a quarter of it.
Exactly, and that is more a concave of shadow.
Yes.
And that's why it's also the 24-hour sun in the north and all that stuff, because of the same shadow falling.
Hey, just curious, in the Vedic cosmology and the architecture of all the sun temples that we've seen, I'm really kind of ignorant of the temples, but are there moon temples also in the Vedic cosmology in India?
The representing, yeah, in a representing of Chandra as a god and as a place, yeah, but not a specific temple, but there are representations in different temples. For example, we have the sun temple, but there are many other astronomical units or constructions which exist apart from just the sundial. There are many other. There's also a temple which is called the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. It's supposed to be one of the most newest temple, which is more supposed to be more bigger than the Vatican. Okay, and in this temple, you have the whole Vedic universe representation on a gigantic size under the dome of this temple of the model what we are discussing here, where you have the whole all the planets and luminaries and the sun and the moon. And because according to the Vedics, the moon and all these luminaries also are kind of places. They are not solid places like for us human to go, but these could be places for the light beings, because the energy it represents, right? Because what we see, the moon, they want to tell us, everybody, it's a very dusty place, and it's not a very habitable place and whatever, but the real moon, the energy, the light, is supposed to be a dwelling place for some deities and some gods who are not as physical or materialistic as our bodies. And so even could be Saturn, Mars, right? But they are no physical place.
So there's no rovers on Mars right now? That's the other thing. Yeah, there's all these lights or energies or frequencies we see in the sky, and I just have to tell people that there's no rocks up there. There's no terra firma over our heads. Yeah, they're lights and they're frequencies. That's all we really know.
Oh yeah, and until you don't become light and frequency, you cannot visit it, right? So
That could hold truth for the stars as well, guys, right? When you're able to visit there, it's a different world.
oh yeah, apart from all the planes, they speak about above and below and all these heavens and heavenly realms and the lower realms. You have all these luminaries and all these places. All depends on how much evolved a particular soul is, right? So it's not just the next step is with God, that's not it. There are many more levels before you could even think about reaching God, right? In a way.
Oh yeah, that's what I think. And you know what when people want to say there's no evidence, well, I would have to say, first of all, there is. All of it, everything you look at is pretty much evidence of a creator. But it's also kind of equated to more earthly fashion. It's like a kindergarten kid screaming that he wants to talk to the principal of the school about his busted crayons or something. That's probably not going to happen, right?
Oh yeah. So you guys should check out this temple called the Vedic Planetary Temple. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a definite. I got to write that down and check that out soon. I'd never heard of it. But it's funny, just the modern day planetariums. I used to go to one as a kid here where I live in the Daytona Beach area. And, you know, it's just so funny that you're sitting on a flat floor looking at stars projected onto a dome over you. And, you know, people just can't use their own common sense to realize, hey, maybe that's how the Earth works. Maybe that's how the stars are.
Exactly. And in so simple words, it's been represented in every cosmology and even in Vedic. It's so simply, it's trying to explain what we perceive, right? It can only explain us what we perceive. We cannot explain us what we don't perceive because we don't have the capabilities, right? The majority of us humans.
No, you know, that reminds you of like sometimes when you try to explain a dream and you just can't. Words, and then consider we're given this language just to confuse us in the first place. So there's that. But no, there are things that can be beyond comprehension, and experience is the best teacher. So if you're open and willing to see things, you will.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most people in this day and age, they are blinded by bias. You know, they have their beliefs and that's the way it is. And they honestly can't see anything. They are mentally, emotionally, spiritually blind because their ego has attached them to their beliefs that they have. And they think that's the truth. Well, I don't know what the truth is. I don't know who God is. I don't know who he, she, they are, but I'm continuing to seek and find and, you know, be the best person I can. But I think if God is, you know, if there's anything, one attribute of God for me personally, it's that of peace. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than peace of mind or anything more important than peace of mind. And when you try to live in accordance with, you know, getting your peace, achieving peace, and then maintaining that peace on a daily level, I mean, there's so many things that can trigger all of us. But if we can start maintaining more peace in our lives, I think we're getting, you know, maybe just an inch, maybe just one step closer to whoever God is.
That's a good point, Keith. You know, that's why that's what the news and media is there for, to keep us out of that kind of connection with ourselves and other people, right?
Yeah, it's all fear based, isn't it? It's all like get you stressed, get you angry, get you dissatisfied, disappointed. You know, the right wing in America is mad at the left wing's mad at the right wing. Yeah, and they're trying to rob you of your peace, which, in my opinion, is to rob you of any kind of connection to spirit.
They do, and they're very clever with it, and their approach and their results are pretty phenomenal.
Most people are completely blind. They can't even see that simple truth.
It's part of the Mother X. It's part of the Matrix. It's part because we need that polarity, right? As we spoke about, you know, like there is nothing good or bad, right? In a way, it's a
perspective.
It's just the different vibrations that needs to happen for things to function in a way. So when the orbital motion of the sun is viewed from above, its illumination is seen to extend out to the half of the greater Earth plane. During its orbit, the sun passes over 4 cities situated in 4 cardinal directions. The city over which the sun is passing experiences the noon, and the city in the opposite direction experiences the midnight. The 2 other cities experience sunrise and sunset. So it's literally speaking about the central north and the sun moving around, and those 4 cities are divided in that circle, which is near to the central north or Mount Meru. And it's trying to explain how the day and night is happening. Although Bhumandala means the earth plane in Vedic cosmology. Bhumandala literally means the circle or the mandala of the earth. You see, it's so basic words, but it reflects so much the truth. Right? Mandala, Bhumandala. It's saying it's a mandala. What is a mandala? You guys know what is a mandala, right?
Yeah, that's when things happen over and over. The pattern.
Yeah, and mandalas are those amazing geometric designs where you can, where you can draw or color them. It's really good for meditation and relax and calming your mind.
Mandala. And to get in touch with your autistic side too, possibly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
So the Bhumandala of the earth on which we stand. The diameter of the Bhumandala is given in the Bhagavatam, and it's about the size of the orbit of the Uranus Bhumandala. The Uranus was discovered in the 1700s, but thousands of years ago they already had it in the Vedic cosmology. So this Bhumandala is divided into the series of geographic features called oceans and islands. There is this concept, right, about when we are, as we spoke about, if there is more earth or there is more water, so this is the thing. Here it speaks about lots of oceans with lots of islands. These are geometrically perfect rings of cosmic size.
Yeah, if you're talking about the orbits of the planets, that's tremendous.
Exactly. So the blue mandala is the circular island of the Jambu Deepa with the 9 subdivision called Varshas. Jambu Dvipa is the literal name, which is supposed to be the base of the Mount Meru. Okay. So this Bharatvarsha, which can be understood in one sense as India, and in another as the total area inhabited by ordinary human beings. Jambu Deepa is centered on a geometrically shaped Sumeru mountain. Because if you see the top part of the Sumeru mountain, it looks like a 3D Merkaba. So the Sumeru mountain, which represents the world axis, and on its top is the city of Brahma, the universal creator. The Bhagavatam presents astronomy and geographical and mythological languages and the mode of presentation in different from the familiar non approach. Although the Earth disk of Bhumandala may look naively unrealistic for some, but study shows that the Bhagavatam uses it to represent at least 4 different reasonable and consistent models, like India, Asia, Earth, and Bhuloka. The Vishnu Purana also described the flat Earth as Bharatvarsha. So the Vedic cosmology gives description of the entire cosmos, including its subtle features, perceptions, and access to those subtle features. However, requires karmic qualification.
That sounds like you need to vibrate at the right place.
Oh yeah. It's you only have entry if you vibrate. So things could be literally in front of you and you won't see it.
Very true. The universe is always speaking to us.
Oh yeah. So there are more details about the Mount Meru, but some is like Lord Shiva, the greatest of the demigod, in the center of the Jambudvipa stands the most extraordinary divine golden mountain called Mount Meru. It's shaped like an inverted cone. And it is the sporting place for the demigods around the Meru. And around Meru are many supporting mountains called Kesara. The distances they speak about is crazy, yeah. So Mount Meru is a resort of Brahma called Manavati. The famous celestial river Ganges descends to the center of the Manaravati and then flows into 4 directions. There's a celestial river that comes from the sky, falls on this mountain, and then from this mountain it divides into 4 rivers. Curious, yeah? 4-direction river. That sounds similar too.
That's a very common theme in a few of the cosmologies. And all of them have the 4 cardinal directions.
And the old map. The old maps around Mount Meru.
Oh yeah, because there has to be some source for that 4 rivers coming in or out, right? Or out, maybe from in to out, right?
Yeah. Some people would say it's almost like a breath where the earth is breathing with the oceans going in and the ocean coming out at different fountains. But the whole thing about the Hindu or the Vedic cosmology, to me, when I was looking into it a little bit this week, it reminded me a bit of the Urbano Monte map, that there's so much on that map, and there's just so much in the Vedic cosmology. I mean, you could study both of them for years and keep learning new things.
Oh yeah, we're just surfing a little bit on the top. We could just go and deep dive in each of these parts in more detail, but we're gonna just go crazy. It's not even possible. We're just surfing, touching a bit of it to understand a little bit, because you could just go crazy with this stuff. There's so much of information there. They speak about these realms near the Mount Meru, the races, the names of the races, the lineage of the people who control them, the state of evolution or progress of consciousness of them. It's crazy.
I would have to think that it would be a lifelong dedication, that you probably couldn't learn everything in one life. It's so detailed and vast and intricate, and it's pretty amazing also. It's beautiful. The buildings, the artwork, the names, the words. It's really awesome.
Oh yeah. So surrounding Manawati in the 8 directions are the resort cities of the chief demigods. One of these cities is Amaravati, the resort of Indra, the king of the heavens. Like, the king Indra lives there, and the majestic opulence attended to by musicians and dancers and reciters. The greater earthly plane extends out to the edges of the universe and has a diameter of 4 billion miles, known as Bhumandala, shaped like a lotus flower. What shape does it sound? Lotus flower, flat, with mountains around, right? So also it's there in some another cosmology. I think I saw in one of the Bible cosmologies too, something similar, where you have the earth in the middle and you have mountains on the edges which are reaching to the stars. The mountains on both the sides. But here it's saying it's like a lotus, mountain all around this plain. And these mountains go high up in the celestial world. And it's so high. And this is more or less supposed to be the edge, right? In a way, the end, where even the mountains are so high that even the sunlight, that's the maximum distance the sunlight reaches. Our sun, at least, our sun that we perceive, right? So, as it's shaped like a lotus flower, it has 7 concentric islands and oceans, with Mount Meru as its pericarp. The 7 oceans respectively contain salt water, sugarcane juice, clarified butter, milk, emulsified yogurt, and sweet drinking water. So these are all, if you see the common part here, is that it's all liquid. It's speaking about liquid. So there are parts of the earth where you could have these kind of like huge reservoirs or these people just lived on this material. There's nothing else. They don't need anything. Maybe even their sweet water has everything that's required to survive. Same as when we speak about the senses and we don't perceive everything. So the same thing is like you could be at some stage that you don't need food. You just need to drink that water or that it also speaks about there are water that taste like sugarcane juice or like butter or like yogurt or like, you know. So the Vedic cosmology is this. It represents the earth to be a flat disk. And this is the thing where it speaks about how the celestial sphere works, and it's explaining how the Bhumandala or the plane is. It also, there are some animation where it shows that this whole disk is floating on a water. You know, there are people who try to make fun of flat earther, like the flat earth is on the back of a turtle, right? But and this turtle is supposed to be swimming in this vast ocean, which is supposed to be this primordial ocean where all these islands and concentric ring exist, right? So these people try to make fun of it, but it actually make more sense than a globe earth, because I don't know if you guys saw one of, I think it's in, I don't know, in some place in the Middle East that they're trying to build a floating city, and this floating city had the shape of a turtle. Why? Because it's a very stable form to float in that water. I don't know if you guys have you guys seen that?
Yeah, it's like this 25-year production they have going on over there, I think.
No. It's like they're trying to build a floating city which is moving, and it's like in the shape. Yeah, it's like in the shape of a turtle. It looks like a stadium with four limbs of the. It looks like a floating stadium, but it's supposed to be a floating city.
Wow.
No, I
I know
have-
Like
somewhere over there
I
that
haven't
they
seen,
got this.
Sorry?
I haven't seen that or heard of that at all. I'll have to look into
Oh,
it.
there was some memes or some videos are floating around on YouTube about that.
Floating around.
Yeah, there's somebody in the chat say, yes, I've seen it. It's amazing. Exactly, because it's very practical shape. We don't mean to mean that there is a turtle swimming, but it's just a representation. But you see in that representation how important is that concept of floating in that vast ocean. It's amazing.
Yeah, I like the size representation of the possibilities of how vast things are when you break things down like that.
Oh yeah, so we spoke about Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, Maharloka, Swargaloka, Purloka, Purloka. And then you have the subterranean, our Bhumandala, the plane, and then we have the subterranean worlds, starting from Atala Loka. As we mentioned also, Atala, the word Atala is the first subterranean realm from the Vedic cosmology. And Atalantic Atlantis. It comes from the same word. Then we have Vitala. Below that, Sutala, Talatala. It goes on. Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala. So above the luminary systems where humans live is the sky. Above the sky is the orbiting sun, which is the entrance point to the heavenly luminaries. All right, guys, we're going to take our break and we're going to be back. All right?
All right.
All right. Welcome back to the show, guys. I'm going to give a quick shout out to the people in the chat. It's FE Nation, it's Queen M, Cover to Cover with Jeremy Pierce, Jay Daddy, Mike Sudnick, Queen M, Stephanie Campbell, Sue Scott, Jonas Fake, John C. Oddity. There's also RTS updates. There's congrats to Vikka, Draziv team, Jeannie, Evelyn, and Keith for another great stream. And then there was Evelyn there before. There's Dr. Frankenstein, Gary Waibenga, it's Carol Herring, Truth Seekers. Says, hello everyone, first time listener. Do they read the chat, answer questions? Yeah, if you have any questions, yes, do. Then there's Angel of Elevation. Yeah, Carol Herring, Truth Seeker. All right. There was somebody saying, where is? Queen M was saying that's why it's important to deliberate with your language. Words are magic. Oh yeah. Word is sound. Sound is vibration. So what you speak and what you hear is equally important. So it's very important what you let in, right? Vedic cosmology. Oh yeah. So it also mentions about these four elephants on this disc at the further edges. It also mentioned those four elephants could be also kind of four directions in a way, which in which balances this whole disc. Yeah, it looks like all disc above disc above disc above disc, right? Layers about layers. So, anybody have any questions for?
You know, the layer upon layer upon layer, or level upon level. It just in the real world, it makes me think of the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases. That there's probably a lot more of them than we could ever know about. But and we, you know, according to science, we've never been below 8 miles under the surface of the Earth. But there could very well be a whole other world underneath us we know nothing about. That maybe the ancient people did. Maybe there are entrances to it, and maybe those are more physical or with matter. But maybe the levels above us are more spiritual with energy and frequencies. I don't know, but as we start considering these possibilities, I think it makes life more fun. I mean, these fascinating subjects are never nothing like this is taught in the public school systems or the government indoctrination camps, like I like to call them. But when you start getting into these subjects and thinking about worlds below us and worlds over us, I personally think it makes life more fun.
Keith, I agree, bro. It is more interesting, and you know they mention a lot of stuff underground in science fiction and movies and television and stuff like that too. So it's totally worth considering. I think for me it is all the way back from the old movies are all science. A lot of them are science related or pseudoscience fiction related. Really, they were just pushing that propaganda from early stages of television and cinema. They really were. There were no there weren't many comedies back in the 20s and 30s, or maybe they were, but I don't know. Far less of them.
And to what you were saying, Keith, that the perceiving of like physical and non-physical, because like depending on the senses. So there's a place also in the Himalayas, in the mountains, where it's like a physical representation of uh, of Mount Meru. Like, so that's why there are yogis or the people who have this knowledge that there is a place in Himalayas where you could go, and if you have passed that vibration, you if you are that much connected, you could start accessing these realms and level, right? The higher you're gonna go, the higher you're gonna access, like, not physically, you're getting it what I'm saying. So there is physically, there's a place in Himalayas where the yogis try to go to access the Mount Meru. Just reaching that place physically and manifesting itself, and then meditating there and doing all their ceremonies or practice or meditation for years, months, days, depending on the evolution and the progress of the individual consciousness. They could just reach the next step more easy or later or harder. It's all depends. So it's curious that there exists a place like that. And if you see those mountains from the top, if you see that diagram, it looks like a representation of that North Pole with a square and the four rivers and everything. So what we could also discuss a bit about in detail, at least some of these lokas, some of these planes. So in the higher luminaries system, one can find the realms of the devas, or demigods, or angels. For the ghostly spirits, there is the Bhuvar Loka. And for the Nagas, there are lower planet. Nagas, Nag means cobra, and cobra is related to reptiles. And here he's literally saying, for the Nagas, there are lower planets populated by those of the demonic consciousness. As we go up, we find the development of higher consciousness, which includes the advanced intellectuality starting from human beings and going beyond it. So one of the plane is called Satya Loka. Here the Lord Brahmas, the progenitor of the material universe, lies on this planet or plane, we want to call it. Vimanas are controlled by mantras and not by mechanical means. What it speaks? Frequency and vibrations. Sound is making that UFO flight. There are no gross bodies. Instead, the residents have minds and intelligence. They do not suffer from fear, old age, or death, and they have compassion for those who are on the lower plane. The residents have the capacity to transform their body into spiritual bodies and enter the eternal Vaikuntha realms. Only great yogis have found a way into the planes through the Milky Way, the highway to the other realms. The life expected duration is to be maybe 15, I don't know if it's million, billion, or trillion. I even don't know. Then you have the Tapaloka. Sanat, Sanaka, Sanandana, and Sanantana lies on this planet. Sanat sounds like Satan, right? It's an anagram. Sandana. So the other great sages also advance here and their spiritual austerity. For any human beings, the level of enjoyment is inconceivable, not conceivable. When the material planes finally dissolution, the residents can transform their body into a spiritual one and enter the spiritual sky. What happens in the next Janaloka? It is the above heavenly realm, and many great saints and sages reside here. It is also populated by the mystics who move to higher planes after transforming their subtle bodies into spiritual when the fire of the devastation consumed the material plane. These residents can move between planes by using their mystic speed, which is inconceivable to us humans. Again, some kind of technology, some kind of weapon, some kind of then we have the Mahar Loka. One can reach the heavenly planes when one can sacrifice the material desires and the contamination of possession and penance. And if one can purify himself further, he can further reach the Mahar Loka. The greatest of the sages, Pirgu Muni, for instance, lived in this place. When advanced yogis reach these planes, they can live there for another 4.3 billion years. They can also transport to Satyaloka, where the fire of the devastation reaches. They have the capacity to transform their bodies into spirit and enter the spiritual realm. Then you have the Dhruva Loka. On this plane, the Dhruva Loka is where the Lord Vishnu resides, and on an island known as Stetwa Deepa. You see the details, it's crazy. And there is one Vaikuntha plane in every material universe. Only pure personalities can live here. In the human universe, this plane is seen as the pole star and is above the seven sisters, the seven rishis, because here it's called the seven rishis, the seven yogis, and in West it's called the seven sisters. It's also a spiritual plane. It's eternal and remains even when other material universes are destroyed. Other planes and material stars are said to have been pivoted from this plane. The plane of the seven sages, or the star that orbits the Dhruva Loka. Then you have Sanai Skara. That's the representation of Saturn. Astrologically, Saturn is a tough luminary. It conveys a message of pain and suffering. It lies 1.6 million miles above Jupiter and passes through one sign of zodiac every 30 months. Then you have the Brihaspati, Jupiter. While Saturn is the inauspicious luminary, Jupiter is the auspicious one, heavenly luminary. Astrologically, this is considered favorable as part of the time of our birth here on Earth. This is where the Devas reside and are situated 1.6 miles above Mars. Then you have the Anagarka, that is Mars. Mars is about unfavorable influences and is said to create a lack of rainfall on Earth. So you see how these people represent the Mars without water. The fake space people, I mean, not the Vedic cosmology, it's just representation. Lack of water, right? That's when they try to put Mars in red. Then we have the Buddha, which is Mercury. Mercury is the son of the moon, 1.6 mile beyond planet luminary Venus. It has the capacity to move behind the sun, in front of the sun, along with the sun. Astrologically, Mercury is auspicious, except when it's not moving along with the sun. When it's moving along with the sun, it can create great storms on Earth. Then you have the Shukra, that is the Venus. Among all, Venus is the most auspicious and favorable planet, or luminary, whatever you want to call it. It's also a heavenly realm, in a way. Venus can bring rainfall on Earth. And then you have the Chandra Loka, which is supposed to be the moon. This is where demigods resides. It's not a physical place, okay? We spoke about it earlier. But the light bodies, entities could reside. So this is where the demigods resides, in one of the 4 residences of the demigod. If one worships the demigod through ceremonies, one can attain great material enjoyment and be promoted to the moon. The celestial intoxicating beverage Soma is available here. Because the Somvar in Vedic, it's Monday. Som, it represents the moon. And the Som Ras, this was supposed to be that magical drink where it's called the drink of immortality, right? So the same thing as we were mentioning in one of our few podcasts before, like it's something similar to ayahuasca or some magical drink from somewhere, right? So it's there. The reference is also there. Using some elixir from the earth, to get superpower. Sounds fiction, right?
No, it's a common thread throughout, though. Some are presented a little differently too, right?
Right.
No, but the food and drink and celebration is a common thread, which is really great.
Oh yeah, and especially the magic ones, right? It's there in the folklore, also everywhere. Oh, there's something you drink and you become. It's all there. The drink of immortality is there. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, that's probably why they let us drink things like alcohol, stuff like that, Pepsi, Coke. Keep us away from anything that's gonna help us.
Sodas, yeah.
Right.
So apart from that drink is available there. Like this heavenly dimension of this place, however, it's impossible to see with naked eyes. The moon passes through the zodiac every month, approximately. the growth of the vegetation is a part of the moon, and so is it considered to be the life givers of living beings on Earth. Important, right? Important, the moon and its cycle. Again, connecting the dots there.
It's amazing that they paid so much attention to the movement of the sky, and they just called it what was their television. A lot of people just write it off. That's what it was for them, like it was their entertainment. But I don't believe that it was just entertainment for them. Like maybe it could have been fun, sure, but probably was too, I guess. But it was very important, and the precision they took care of to monitor what they're looking at is really incredible. Throughout history, guys, remember that, right? Thousands of years, and then only all of a sudden, 500 years ago, the story's completely changed to modern day science, pseudo-fiction, globe Earth, Inferno core rocket water ball chasing a pressurized gas giant with no container for billions of years. Billions. So it's interesting.
Oh yeah, the Carol Herring Truth Seeker says moon eclipse reset. I think is every 18 years. Yeah, it's around 19 years. It's called the sidereal cycle. Anyway, so the next luminaries and one of the most important, Surya. Surya is the sun. As we know, it's the source of light. You see, the modern science says that many of the stars are also the suns, but the Vedas says otherwise. Eat that. It says that they are considered luminaries of different elements, but they cannot be the same as the sun. Did you get that, globe authors? Yeah. The sun god, Surya Deva, is in fact expansion of Narayana, a form of Lord Vishnu.
I would like to point out something, Vikka, that in the explanation of starlight in today's version, you can't have light travel through a vacuum for that amount of distance because it just doesn't work. It's what is that called? The inverse square law of light.
Yeah, the inverse square law of light.
Right. So that means light just gets dimmer and wider and dimmer, respectively, the further out you go. So if it gets a certain amount of dim in 10 feet, it'll double in 20 feet and double that in 40 feet. So it gets like the globe Earth. It gets pretty bad pretty quick with light. Now there's powerful lights out there. Yeah, sure. I'm not saying that, but starlight is impossible according to their own law. And so.
And here. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the entire heliocentric hypothesis is based on assumptions with massive contradictions like that. I mean, they contradict themselves left and right. One scientist, contradicts the next scientist, and it's just all assumptions to make their math magic work on the chalkboard. I tell people all the time that chalkboard calculations can't make water bend around a spinning ball. Not in reality. It can on the chalkboard, but it can't do it anywhere in our observable reality.
No, it doesn't.
The inverse square law of light, if you go out and look at the moon, especially during a full moon when it's so bright, you take how many lumens the moon is hitting the Earth with, and if you diminish that by half, every half distance back to the moon, then by their own theory, the moon would be brighter than the sun. So, I mean, the inverse square law
literally
and the moonlight that hits the Earth, I mean, that alone debunks the entire heliocentric hypothesis, just that one thing. And there's lots of things like that.
So there's just the perfection of everything in a random explosion caused by gravity. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm just more and more blown away by the precision of this system. The more you study it, the more you observe it. I look up at the stars now with so much more fascination than I did 5 years ago before I started learning any of this. And I just enjoy looking at the night sky so much more. But when you start realizing the extreme precision of the sun and the moon and the stars and how they work like a perfectly, divinely, intelligently designed clock, it's an amazing thing that we live inside of. Whatever it is, the cosmic egg, whatever cosmology might be to the truth, I don't know. But this place that we live in is, to me, it's obviously intelligently designed. And it's wonderful. It's fascinating. I'll never understand it all, but I'm okay living in the mystery of things. I'm totally okay with that.
I agree.
Oh yeah, we can know everything. Yeah, because as we mentioned, like everything is moving and vibrating and evolving every moment. So till the time when if we realize something, it's already changed in a way, right? The energy is moving, everything is living, everything is breathing, everything, right? So, and yeah, it's true. When you are in the outback, really outback, out there, when there is no cities, and you watch the sky, it's amazing. The stars, you could just be whole night looking at the stars and watching things moving around, and wow, you feel like a child, when you're in the nature and see the creation.
It is magical like that.
Back in 2013, I lived on the Big Island in Hawaii, and we lived about 2,000 feet above sea level up the side of Mauna Kea. And there's no light pollution there. I mean, you look up at the night sky up there, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, that's also where they have the big, I forget the name of the observatory up there, but there's on the top of Mauna Kea. We drove up to it, and they have these big, huge domes, telescopes up there. But the night sky where I used to live, and I wish I knew then what I know now. I didn't know anything about flat Earth or these cosmologies we're talking about back then in 2013. But even then, just how mesmerizing and how majestic and magical the night sky was, looking at it without the light pollution of the cities. It was amazing.
Yeah, that sounds great, Keith. Keith, isn't there a bird's eye view, a clear shot, island to island, that doesn't add up on the globe model?
Yeah, almost all of them. Standing on the north shore of the Big Island where I was, on a clear day, you can look over and see Maui real easy. And I don't know how far away Maui was, but there's one of the islands you can look over and see like 100 or 200 miles across. Maybe you can see Kauai from Maui or somewhere. I forget which one it is, but it's just another one of our observable realities that would be completely impossible if the Earth were a globe with curvature.
Yeah, I thought so. It's about 100 miles from island to island, ultimately, where you can see one.
No, some of them are much closer than that. But
right.
there's one visual, and I forget which one it is, but it's well over 100 miles that you can see the peaks on the other island.
Right. That's what I can't
island,
remember which
island
two either.
Like, that island, if the globe math was right, that island would be thousands of feet beyond the curvature where you would never see it.
Right. Right.
So, speaking again about the sun, as it mentioned that the sun is the reason for the seasons, how the seasons are controlled on Earth. Here it resides between the Bhuloka and Bhuvarloka, rotating through the time circle of the zodiac. Those who practice yoga worship the sun and the demigods residing here, and their bodies are made of fire. And then we have Rahu. Rahu is an invisible and lies 80,000 miles below the sun. It's because of Rahu that the solar and the lunar eclipse occurs. And there are the Siddhaloka, Karanaloka, and Vidyaloka. These are sub-planes, okay? They are below Rahu, 80,000 below. The residents have mystic powers and can fly to without any mechanical means. They can control density in a way, time and space in a way. The art, culture, and the science they possess are far superior to the knowledge possessed by human beings. Then the sky is called Antariksha, lies beneath the higher planes system. The residents of the plains are yakshas or rakshasas. Rakshasas are kind of, we could call demons, pisashasa, ghosts, and other ethereal beings. Above this plane, there is no air. And as we spoke before, the Bhumandala, the Middle Earth, we are in the Middle Earth. This is where other standards of living like us and other heavenly bodies reside on these planes. There are 7 plane systems: Jambu, Plaksa, Salmali, Kuksha, Karuncha, Shaka, and Pukshara, each divided according to the 7 seas. Each of the systems is twice as large as to the one preceding it. Like in a way, the rings, how it expands, it just expands from the center to all around in a circle. We could imagine something as we mentioned before, like you have the central mountain, Mount Meru, and the Jamadipa Islands, and then you have an ocean, circular ocean, and then again a circular land and circular ocean, circular land, and this continues, right? And apart from these oceans that works as a barrier, there could be some other kind of barrier. Could be an energetic barrier, could be a electric barrier that we can't even go, maybe touch and we get fried up there, you know. It's not any magical thing, it's just maybe a technology, you know, which the superior beings have like already managed to control, and they could pass on to the next worlds, or because in the Slavic cosmology it was speaking about like literally going to these places once is your next lives, right?
Right. And, stuff like that is represented in some of these shows. Invisible barriers, and, we have things that represent that standing around all over the place. Those towers we got kicking around, right? That bring us our Wi-Fi.
And they have this pattern, everything like doubles up, it's the same as the physical land is doubling up in its distance horizontally. Also, it goes vertically in the same way, so the distance between this plane and the next above, so the third one is going to be the double of what is the distance of the first realm. It's simple sign. It's no fake numbers, no fake. It's just literally that double of double of double of double, like this. On X and Y axis. So the Bhumandala, this plane, our plane, looks like a lotus flower, and the 7 plane systems are the petals of the lotus. The radius of this plane is 93 million miles. This plane, our ones, not the next and the next and the next rings. It's speaking about this one, 93 million miles.
That's how far away they say the sun is.
Holy.
On average, too.
So
guys,
you see the connection there, 93, yeah?
Yeah. Which is another impossibility. Because I say average because it's an elliptic path, meaning it's sort of egg shaped, not the Earth, right? And it slows up and speeds down twice a year.
Another coincidence.
Right? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So then we have the lower planetary system. We had all these upper planes, so much in detail with their names and their subplanes and what kind of people live there, or what kind of entities or devas or demigods or aliens, if you want to call it, reptiles, all right? So then you have the lower planetary systems or planes. 7 other systems lie below the earth: the Tala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Matala, Rasatala, and Patala. They are about the same size as Earth plane and lies below 560,000 miles below the Earth. Sunlight has zero possibility to reach this plane. The light comes through the jewels on the hoods of the serpents. And it's crazy because they also have this folklore. I don't know if it's real, but it's lots of people speak about that in Asia and in India, about cobras. Is a very the reptiles is portrayed in many cultures as wisdom, as the guardian of the wisdom. All right. And they say there that there are snakes that have these kind of a diamond, kind of a piece of crystal or diamond that they they have inside, they eat it and they have inside, and that they could take it out to create light, in a darker place, which reflects with what it's saying here, that how these underrealms, some of them, they light themselves with all this is kind of a crystal on their head. And it is said that in Asia, because in Asia there are lots of cobras, not only in India, it's all over still, or Indonesia. It's much more huge there. Some of the cobras, when they stand up, when they put just their head up, they could literally be your height. There are so big cobras, king cobra. And it is said that there are people who hunt these kind of, sometimes, these cobras for this jewel. Okay. So, sounds like fantasy, but
No,
as we said,
king cobras can be about 18 feet long. So that makes sense that they could stand 5 or 6 feet tall. Third of their body.
Oh, crazy, brother.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
And they're not like skinny little snakes. They're not huge like a python or anaconda or whatever, but that's a healthy snake.
The cobras are one of the most dangerous species in the world.
Yeah. And very original too.
Oh yeah, it's in India. It symbolizes wisdom. It symbolizes, that's why they speak about the venom in the Vedic cosmology, and that's why they also speak about that. Some of the gods are blue, like in Avatar.
Okay.
Because of that, something to do with the venom and the knowledge, and there's a connection there.
So I didn't know that. I had no idea. I just figured they were using nice colors. But I guess everything would have significance.
People with great demonic powers reside in Patala, and they live with great material enjoyment without any spiritual enjoyment. They also do not become old or diseased, or fear does not affect them. They are called Bila Swarga, or subterranean heavenly plane. The residents enjoy this plane more than the higher planes because it's about wealth, sensual enjoyment, and influence. They are known as Daityas and Danavas and Nagas, reptile people. They don't seek any spiritual liberation. But one can see incredible architecture in their cities, as it is embellished with valuable jewels, houses, gardens, and so on. They drink juice and bathe in herbal elixir, which destroys anxiety of physical disease and also physical signs of aging. The visual beauty is well above of any of the higher planes. But this is only what it's a mere physical beauty. There are no days or nights here. There is no fear of time. Only the time of dissolution can create havoc on this plane. it's crazy the amount of detail, right, about those planes above or below, right? And we have this the reptilians and the reptilian cities and the aliens that lives in the subterranean planes. It's all there, and but here it's speaking about detailed. And this is not from some science fiction book. This is from thousands of years that has been passed on.
Yeah, I think the modern day controllers, whoever they are, they like to mock people and put things in truth in plain sight. And, with all the kids I have and the different shows they've watched over the years, you have to think of stuff like TMNT, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of the reptiles who drank the ooze and became conscious, and they're living underground in New York City. And there's the Ninja Go or Ninjago of the Lego characters, and they have all these reptilians that live underneath the ground there that are kind of try to take over everything. And I mean, there's so many things in modern pop culture even that talk about these truths, but they talk about them in some pop culture science fiction way, just almost like they're making fun of it. But in reality,
They're speaking the truth, because also they have in India about very specially about the cobras and the nagas, that they are shapeshifters. They
Right.
can shapeshift any human beings. It's not making up. It's so much big time in the Vedic cosmology with the nagas and the shapeshifting. It's their speciality to shapeshift. So it could be possible that all these people who are speaking about reptiles and they're trying to control, and the we and the all those series and these reptile trying to control, it could be that these people, this reptilian race, see that we are so screwed up with our situation that they come and they shapeshift and they are controlling. And yeah, and this is what the ancient books are saying also, in a way, that it's a kind of, could be a technology that they could shapeshift, or a biologic technology that they could shapeshift, right? Because here is literally speaking about wealth, power, beauty, control, matter. What do these famous reptile people, they think they want? They want fame. They want money. They want good looks. They want wealth. They want, right, and all that.
Yeah.
Many other.
People to admire them like stars.
But it's all only materialistic. It's all, there is no essence of spirituality in there. But it's part of that. They are living in their world. They're enjoying it. They are in their right to do that. But I don't know if they are in their right to control us. But who knows? So the hellish plane system called Naraloka. Narakaloka. Narakaloka means Narak means hell. It's literally the hell plane, this one. So below the Patala Loka, there is Naraloka, slightly above Garbhabota Ocean, the biggest ocean, the half of the year, like below Earth, like has different degrees of suffering, and is for those who have to suffer. We humans might think of the level of suffering here on Earth as cruel, but suffering there is way, way more cruel and harsh. It is for those who commit all the wrongdoings during their times as humans on Earth. While life goes on for eternity, the duration of the karmic sentence might be only a few seconds. According to the Vedas, there are about 28 different hellish planets in total in planes. All of these plane systems are bound to be annihilated, and this annihilation can occur in two ways. The one is through partial annihilation, which occurs every 4.2 billion years, or the end of each day in Satyaloka, which is also a big time span. So the annihilation includes all the lower planes and heavenly planes. So it's curious, the concept of hell and heaven. We only have you're only going to go to heaven or hell. That's it. That's it. There's no other option. But here it's saying there's so many different options. It's in the West we only have hell and heaven. There is nothing in the middle or on the sides. Here is everywhere. Here is up, below, down, sides, everywhere. You have many options. You're not only going to go to heaven or hell. You could go somewhere in between, depending how good were you, right? Or how bad were you, or what were your deeds or karma, right?
Some of it sounds like a dream state again to me, though. Like beautiful places where there's not as much physical matter or any at all. Like you guys been awakened some of your dreams. I think it could be something very similar to that, but with way more control and participation in what happens and goes on in that kind of a world.
Oh yeah, and could be also physical place, beautiful place with people,
right?
With beautiful souls, with beautiful people, with enlightened and living in harmony with the nature,
right.
with maybe just drinking water from the spring, which is like eternal.
Exactly.
Energy. Yeah.
No sicknesses, and yeah, right. You live for a couple thousand years.
Or there are few meditatings there in the nature, one in the tree, one in the mountain, one in the on the river. It's all people in bliss. Why not? Who knows, right?
No, we're only limit our imagination by not thinking that way. So I don't see why not. It's more fun to think that way for me. And I think it's really possible too.
Oh yeah, I think there have to be humans who are evolved than us. As we spoke before, we cannot be the
right. Like the pinnacle of creation here, right now. Exactly. No, I have to agree with you, brother. There are places where, and maybe we could shapeshift into, like if I wanted to go see you tomorrow, I'd turn into a whale for the day and go swim over there, no problem.
Yeah, or an eel. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or they could be our Ubers in a nice world where we communicate with the animals, and they would take us places possibly. I don't have a problem thinking like that.
Oh yeah, we could turn this place also something such harmonically, right? Such harmonic place, and it's possible. It's very difficult, but it's possible. We just have to get a bit more conscious on a collective level, and it's quite difficult, but everything is possible. We never know the outcome. It's always the polarity. It could be negative and positive, right? So
yeah, I agree though. I think it is possible, maybe even probable. A lot of people are not happy with how these guys in charge are doing things all over the place. Not a lot of regular everyday people. And everybody's got a problem with something these guys is trying to say these days. Something somewhere. Everybody's like, huh? No way. What? So this can work in our favor.
Yeah, but even if we don't even not need to go to the extra lands, to have that peace, because there are tribes and people maybe living here away from the cities, really, really far, and living in harmony with the nature and peaceful, and they don't have internet, they don't have nothing, they don't know a shit what's happening in the world, and they don't want to know, because in reality it's all paranoia. Imagine if we don't have this whole a constant feeding of BS through all this media and all the stuff, and all the manipulation. We would be just living off nature, living peacefully, right? We have created this system of living in a concrete jungle and looking for whatever, it's all consumer based society of everything. So the whole circle is never ending, because the one who is making that products is having a great time selling them, and we all are hooked to consume all this. So it's the whole cycle of continuing, but we are never satisfied. We are never enough, because they're never going to let us be enough, because we're never going to, majority is never going to go out of this 9 to 5 hamster wheel race, right? And so it's too far for even to people to understand, because everything is a result of this, our mental state, our mind, our body. It's all how we are is because what we are perceiving and what's the system is feeding us, right?
Oh, absolutely, bro. It is. It's what we would call like a media-induced egotistic coma.
Yeah, I took a road trip with one of my sons not too long ago, and we were having just a talk about life. And I told him, I said, son, one of the main problems that people have is they're looking for meaning in things that are meaningless. And he said, Dad, that's really good. They're looking for meaning in things that are meaningless. I said, thanks, son. Yeah. But that is what you're talking about with the TikTok society and all the, headlines and the clickbait that's out there. And people are they're looking for something meaningful in everything that's meaningless. And, like that's why I was talking about peace of mind earlier. If we can get to the place where I try to teach my kids this, I said, just practice sitting still and being content. If you can learn to do that in your earlier years of life, by the time you're my age, you'll be a master. So, and that's something that most people can't do. They can't just sit still and have a sense of fulfillment or a sense of contentment. And that to me is true spiritual power.
Exactly, because consciousness and energy is equally important. That's why somebody could have a perfect body, a bodybuilder, or the most perfect whatever, but if there is no spirituality and consciousness, it's nothing. One could be totally conscious and totally intellectual, but doesn't have a physical energy body. It's for nothing. So the balance is important, right? And what is this system is doing is that we don't have this balance, because they are keeping us stressed out, or so that we physically we become on the weekend, right? As how it mentions, right? So they drain us out physically and mentally, and so everything what the mind body is also very important for us, because what we let in the vibration, because these are all vibrations they are sending in, and frequencies in form of different images and sounds and whatever, right? So what we are taking in is equally important that what we are saying. So as I mentioned just earlier before about the vibration, so what is entering, so to have a harmonic physical body too, it's important that what we are letting inside, it's really important. try to live with the nature, you know, and would help to cut down, because to cut down all this, because we don't have, normally the general people don't have an antidote for all this contamination that's happening, apart from this sound and the vibration and all the environmental contamination and everything else that I don't even want to mention, you know, like the food, the medicine, everything, right? So from everywhere they're attacking. The only way to protect is through inside you to outside, right? And following the ancient ways. It's nothing freaking demonic. It's just taking care of your temple. So everything, meditation, Reiki, yoga, sports, gymnastics, it's all taking care of your body. It's taking care of your mind. That's it. And in today's world, yeah, go ahead.
That's an important part of the trio, the mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
Right? There are important aspects to the body that are not egotistic, right? So yeah, it is important how you feed yourself with food, as well as what you watch and what you listen to.
Exactly.
That's why, guys, we're just really grateful you guys spend your time with us, hanging out, listening to our podcast. Yeah, we have a lot of fun with you guys, and very thankful that you're all here in the chat.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, related to what you're just talking about, Vikka, I just finished a 8-day juice fast. I did, juice and tea, and I didn't eat anything solid. And it's amazing how quickly your body and your mind just kind of calms down and becomes more clear and more peaceful. And just in the first couple of days, putting food back in my body, especially any dead food or cooked food, it's like some of the little bit of stress comes back, a little bit of the mental fog comes back. But if I highly recommend anybody listening to, if you've never done an extended fast, to start with 1 day, 24 hours, then maybe try a 3-day and just do juice. Or some people do just water. I've never even really tried just water, but I hear that gives phenomenal results too. But if there's some things like that we can do for our bodies that physically it has amazing benefits, but spiritually it seems to do something to you as well.
Oh yeah. Just avoid sugar and salt for 3 days. You're going to start speaking to entities already.
That's great. Try that.
That's why sugar and salt is in everything.
Right. Keep you disconnected and fogged. Yeah, Keith, I had the similar experience. I don't eat a lot of meat, and I recently went overboard one night, and I felt like I was in a food-induced half a coma for a day. It was horrible.
Oh yeah, simple food like helps you more than all this fancy stuff.
Ooh. Learn my lesson.
Yeah, it's all about the energy that you put in. You might cook a more simple meal, but it's the energy you put in there, the love you put in there. That's the more important, because you come in home and you're like, what the fuck this life is? I'm gonna have to make this, and I'm gonna cook this, and I'm gonna eat this, and I'm more screwed up. Yeah,
Yeah, 100% right,
dude.
brother.
You even making a salad, make with love. Add things with love. And the energy. It's all. So even they would try to poison us with all their chemicals and all their everything in everything. We still can protect because the energy can turn that poison into food, right? If the human beings have we have lots of superpowers, but we don't use them. We think only those other entities in other realms have this, and we can. But we have so many superpowers. We just need to access. Look inside. Look inside. You can do, and you are more than you can even imagine. You think what you are, that's what it is. Multiply.
Well, you know what, guys? I mentioned that maybe you guys will like the way of thought that I kind of project out there from me to all of you. And if you don't mind, what I do is, I got all my friends and family, and I know everybody eats, right? So I picture like the people who are handling all your food that are in different stages of, say, process or growth. Some seeds, plants, some are in the market right now, so they're all in different stages of people handling your food. So I just put a blanket of well-being over all those people directly, and that feels good because that goes like as a direct good PowerPoint for a lot of people. So when I do that, I'm thinking about like everybody I know, people in the audience here. I think about you guys a lot. All my friends, my Facebook friends, all you guys that let me post my this show on your pages. You guys are great. So this is how I try to pay my friends and family back in a way that I think could really possibly help. I put that bubble of security around you guys. That let nothing get to you guys. And if it does, you'll be able to fix it. You'll be fine. Your body will take care of it.
Oh yeah, and the Ayurveda, it's a whole concept in itself, right? The Vedas, you have Ayurveda, it's all about plants and medicine, the whole science about plant and medicine. Astraveda, it's all about astronomy. So you have different Vedas for different things. So according to the Ayurveda, the food, especially the Indian food, you need to have the 5 different elements or tastes that exist in foods: sweet, sour, acidic, and there are few others, okay,
Bitter.
that you need to eat every day. So it could be the more simple food you're eating, but those 5 different tastes should be there, which helping your body. It's all science, right?
Wow.
It's nothing. It's all science because they diagnose your problems depending how your body is acidic, pH, acidic, or there are different ways of recognizing illnesses and diagnose you with food. So, and even the Indian food is based a lot on spices and onions and turmeric and ginger, and so it's like kind of detoxifying the food with those spices and those all the ginger, lemon. Turmeric is supposed to be one of the most highest antibiotic superfood, yeah, because I don't even want to use the word about antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-V, right? Apart from that, it's antibiotic. They wanted to patent this, the turmeric. Okay, it's one of the most important ingredient in Indian food. It's supposed to be an anti-inflammatory. It's if I as you guys know, as you guys know, it's one of my to study plants and its properties. So I could tell you, if there's a plant that exists which is magical, That's turmeric. It's crazy. Use it, abuse it, whatever. It's for everything. It's gonna keep you fit. Use it there are many different ways to use it, cooking, or you can make a tea. You can use many different ways. Turmeric, it's magical, right? So the Indian food is also based on that, with the Ayurvedas, the vegetables, the spices, all this stuff. So you are like literally detoxing your body every day with all these contaminations, heavy metals, fluoro. I don't want to use the word, right? Everything, the trails, everything for against all. So it's not about the Indian food. It's just spicy. No, it has its meaning. It has its function because of the Ayurvedas, because of our physical body and our energetic body. That also affects the food. Also affects our energetic body too. So it's all part of the Vedic teachings or scripts or text or wisdom or knowledge. So anyway, guys, we could go on forever. Maybe we would do a second part continuing to this maybe in the future, but we will be having our last thoughts for the show tonight, and we're going to be wrapping up. So
yeah, I'll say goodnight to everybody, bro. That was a fantastic show, Vikka. Appreciate what you put together for us. Very interesting. I like to think about things that are seemingly inconceivable. That is a lot of fun, and a lot of commonalities, a lot of very original ideas and concepts behind all this. Had a great time, and thanks to everybody. I hope you enjoyed that show. I'm like, woof, my mind is blown away, brother. It's very cool. You know what I really liked a lot too is a lot of the etymology, the origins of the words that we use today coming from these cosmologies is very interesting. So we're still using parts of old language, but not sure how we're using it in the right way. So it's fun breaking it down. And well, yep. So we'll see you next time. Good to see everybody.
oh yeah, definitely, brother. As I said, we just were surfing a little bit. We didn't even go deeper in any of these things. You could just dive into each part of it and be there for years.
You really could.
Exactly,
really could.
Because it was like a trip. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a lifelong study that you probably one man could probably never finish from childhood on.
Exactly.
Beautiful stuff. Really, truly is. I love it.
Yeah, I'll say goodnight. It was a great show, I thought. I mean, it's given me quite a bit of homework to go do. I definitely want to go check out that planetarium that you're talking about online, and I'm going to look more into the sun temples. And it's just, it's just a constant, never-ending learning. And that's, I try to tell people, self-educate. Go learn about what interests you. I mean, and try to find something that's important and meaningful to you. Instead of asking the age-old question of what's the meaning of my life, try asking the question, what would make my life meaningful? And then go study that and learn that. And so, it's not just, for me, it's not just flat earth. I tell people all the time that flat earth is not about flat earth. It's just about the fact that we've been lied to about something so blatant and so obvious. And the next question is, what else have we been lied to about? So we learn real quick that there's a lot of things we've been lied to about. And if you'll start educating yourself and learning about things that are important to you and meaningful to you, that'll hopefully lead you to more and more things that are true and give you more meaning in your life. So, Vikka, thanks again. It was a great show. Gene, it's good to be with you. And I'll see you guys real soon, or talk to you again real soon.
Oh, yeah.
You too, brother.
Definitely, brother. And yeah, the globalist thing that we are just making things up, and we just want to be different. That's why we want to like flat Earth, this that. All these ancient cosmologies that we are a dozen that we did, and there are many more. They speak about the real shape of the Earth and how we perceive it. Okay, so all the fake theories and formulas of whatever they could invent, they cannot change what we perceive in real life. And most of this cosmology is repeating it in every different way, the same thing, that it's a geocentric, stationary, flat Earth. So every cosmology have a different time span, and the Vedic cosmology is supposed to be one of the oldest and more detailed that the people could ever imagine. The older it is, the more detailed it is. The newer it is, the newer information it is decoded about the shape of the Earth, of our geography, of our universe, of our realm, of our cosmos, whatever we want to call it. So definitely we're going to be continuing this some other time. And yes, thank you, Jeannie, thank you, Keith, thank you everybody in the chat for being here. Really appreciate. And yes, make sure you guys check us out on the next week of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your Vikka Draziv. This is your host Vikka Draziv signing out, guys. See you soon. Bye everyone, and keep it flat. Bye.
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.